And thanks for joining us this afternoon. The Electricity Company of Ghana is apologizing to scores of customers who may have fallen victim to the activities of a cartel, including staff of ECG and security guards who forged documents to sell off unapproved meters to prospective consumers at exorbitant prices. The apology is coming just hours after the Joy News is yet to air a documentary which reveals that separate meters, for instance, that cost a little over 800 cedis is now being sold by these individuals for as high as 2,500 Ghana cedis. That's how bad the situation is this afternoon, as Joy News investigative journalist Kwete Nate, in his latest expose, Power Thieves, reveals how the actions of these individuals enable their power consumers to actually enjoy free electricity without the knowledge of ECG officers in most parts of the country. Now, for those of you who are looking forward to that documentary, here are excerpts for you.
The Joy News investigative team decided to visit ECG offices in 3 regions to ascertain the extent of the canker. At the Accra East Regional Office and Sub-Transmission Office near Makola, I met Abraham, an ECG staff at the meters office. He said a separate meter, which ordinarily goes for 800 Ghana cedis, will cost me 2,000 cedis. He showed me documents he had processed for a different customer, but was willing to transfer it to me only if I would pay the amount.
The last time the price, he said how much? The price, how much?
2,000.
This one, reduce it a little for me. How do you go about it? I give you 1,500 when I come for it, and I give you the balance.
Okay, no problem.
He advised that if I followed the established process, I would have to wait for almost a year to get the meter. He, however, promised that he could assist me to get a meter if I paid just a little more than the statutory fees to him.
I'm giving this one for someone.
Okay.
But the person also not ready now. Then let me hold on. If one who is ready, I'll give it
then you give it to
He boasts of helping many individuals struggling to secure such meters at ECG offices. In Abraham's confession, 3 prospective customers will soon be beneficiaries of these meters he's working on after they paid 2,000 cedis each.
This meter for someone, so
Okay.
and program it 6 years 2 weeks.
Okay.
But it's not reflecting. So there's a prepaid.
Okay.
I have to reflect.
Okay.
You use the card to buy.
Okay.
And that is here.
Okay.
But it's not reflecting.
Okay.
Then when it's not reflecting, you can't store it. When you store it, the person cannot purchase.
Okay.
Then you are on the customer.
Okay.
So I just want to give you a receipt.
Okay.
The official receipt, the general process. You know, I don't want to kulu my life. So this time, nobody gets time.
Abraham is not alone in this business of providing meters. But this Energy Commission staff who identified himself as Jerry at the Kwabenya office of the ECG is another operative in this trade. This is the exact district the ECG identified over 15,000 customers who were using power illegally. Jerry promised he will help me acquire a meter. He asked me to pay 2,500 cedis.
I don't want like everything. If I do something, I want something. That's why I'm telling you that the district got to get in is difficult. Now you can get it. There's nothing that you see the day I will get. That's why I say you don't just see this. If you are not checking some working like they are not talking that we use it. So I have to be he said, oh, right, yeah. That's how it's complicated.
When I go get that?
Oh, let's see that.
After I made part payment to Jerry, he delves a bit deeper into how he got meters for people like me who are in dire need of a meter but are unable to wait for months before they would be assigned one. Jerry and his accomplices transfer the transaction details of another prospective customer to those offering to pay more for meters.
I have to get something to attach to. Do some changes.
Like how?
Like the 500.
So you had to come for him, I will take it.
Not that you become for 1 week, I think if you send me the 500. I have to do the thing for you if you come for
Okay. That's what it's Maybe I will get the receipt to them.
No, we get the receipt.
Why?
Because it's someone's every two, when I give it to you, go and check it. Every two will be in the contract.
At the Achimota ECG office, I came across this ECG contractor. He gave his name as Sammy. He blamed the difficulty in acquiring meters on the shortages in the system. He also charges at least 2,500 cedis to provide separate meters.
Oh, senior business review and a price of bonus.
Send over.
I see 2.5.
Oh, 2.5. Maybe I can train this other man on 1.5.
Sata mi ni anya ni o, se mi dan e bi ni ho. Oh, e ma mi kan je o se e bi ni ho kura. O bra no ni won bi ni no. O yele pe. Mi ye se man mi za won.
O man
mi za e mi se you say se no kura ya ye payment ni na mi ta no buy. Na we di o kitani se ya. E no na mi je se we di o kitani se ya. Friend now ko ba mo e yin ne onu wa obi dia wa omo agia to da se mi ta je se o be se yen process dia ye ya o be kan dia
and be
process ni mo dia u da 15
how long?
Ani dia ye mi ta ni ya ye to pe ye no be bad ya o ti ani video bad ya ti se no na ye chen so pen no mu fa no wasa o ye go fa ejuma go ma pen ya 33 years boy dia e dia no ni on pen for bia.
But the ECG boss, Samuel Dubik Mahama, insists this claim is inaccurate. The company has enough stock of meters to serve customers.
To be very honest with you, we do have scarcity of meters now. Under the loss reduction program, the meter manufacturing companies have made meters available. I can say on authority that we've installed almost more than 60,000 meters since the beginning of this year. There are meters to be installed. Please do not pay these exorbitant prices.
In the eastern regional capital of Koforidua, this middle-aged man gave his name as Seth at the ECG office there. He charges 1,500 cedis for the unauthorized meter. He claims 1,200 cedis of the money goes into processing and documentation, and the remaining 300 cedis pay persons he described as his superiors who facilitate the acquisition.
Well, you want to stay on the Joy News channel later tonight as you have a full sense of what's happening within the industry. Meanwhile, the Electricity Company of Ghana is giving assurances that the issues will be dealt with. Earlier today, Managing Director Dubik Mahama was on the AM show apologizing to customers who may have been shortchanged.
It's closing the gap and work at ECG.
And that is the question, because from what it's a cartel. I'm sure the veins of same stretch across the country. But they issue forged documents. How is that possible?
So, as I said, now we've gone very, very cashless. We now have a system where even the whole process has to start from online. But now, to those who are so gullible that they haven't actually approached the main office, because you see what your man did was, people met him outside the building. So those who are not so, what I would encourage is, anybody who needs service from ECG, please enter the ECG office. Speak to someone within ECG. Speak to the district manager. Speak to the district commercial officer. You need to speak to people within ECG. Because when you speak to those outside, they are the ones who created their own cartel. What saddens me is that
so these are basically Guru boys and girls. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying that. There are some that are ECG staff, and from the video we have seen those.
Yes, but you're also saying that there are Guru boys and girls there, not just
Yes.
ECG staff. All right.
Yes.
I get that. You just hold for me, Mr. Mahama. You're aware of the presence of these Guru boys and girls. What have you done about the situation? And to add to that, you're saying that people should go inside and interact with ECG staff. I get that. That is the right thing to do. But the process tends to be lengthy. And people are, from what I have gathered on the street, are always complaining that the process is lengthy. And it almost appears that sometimes they'll keep making it lengthy until you pay something. So what are you doing about those two angles?
To talk about, I don't want to say something that would mean like we are looking at the integrity of the video. That video is sacrosanct and I intend to rely on it. But from the time frame within which this investigative piece was done and what ECG is doing today is that I'm telling you, your new service request starts from online.
Okay.
So basically, 85% of the problem you've just seen has been solved. So when you go on the new ECG app, there's a service request portion at the top right corner where you click on and follow the requisite steps before you come into the office, where your transaction IDs are all generated for the process to be completed. So I will encourage everybody to start from there while we work our way downwards to solving the problem.
All right.
But my main
Well, the ECG Managing Director, Dubik Mahama, there earlier on the AM show. So how do we tackle this and ensure that the metering system of the Electricity Company of Ghana is indeed intact to, deal with the issues of loss reduction as we know it, which will then promote efficiency within ECG itself. Let me bring you in, Leila Bubakar, who's the External Communications Manager for the Electricity Company of Ghana. Michael Dumata Nyantechi is also the General Secretary of the Public Utility Workers Union, and Adam Yakubu is a researcher and policy programs director at the Institute for Energy Securities. Thank you all for joining us. Leila, since you work with ECG, it's a good time to be talking to you. First of all, on what we've seen and the assurances coming through from the Managing Director that indeed all of these issues will be dealt with. Since in the last few hours, has anything changed? Are there any concrete steps you're taking to deal with this challenge?
We've always been in the process of taking steps to, as much as possible, reduce our losses internally and externally. And so it's an ongoing process. It just happens that now we have names to the faces and a lot of the allegations that had always been leveled against ECG staff. So for now, we have a name or some couple of names that we can take action on. And since this expose, I don't have any updates with regards to these particular names, but in-house, we are always on the lookout for some of these leakages that come about as a result of the actions of our staff or people who work in conjunction with us.
And of course, the MD pointing out there that ever since this video was shot to the time where we are now, drastic changes have taken place in terms of how you're digitizing your process and some of the changes that are happening in terms of the metering system. Practically speaking, what would a customer go through now if they have to, deal with this whole hurdle of acquiring either new meters or replacing faulty ones?
I think the canker was in the aspect where we had no meters available. That was where the rot was. It was the reason why all these people were able to take advantage of the customers. And so if we could not have addressed the meter shortage, then the whole situation about getting to the bottom of this would not even begin. So that was the first thing that we had to do. We have now the loss reduction program that is nationwide. I mean, in all the operational areas of ECG. And this program is in conjunction with the private sector. We have tried as much as possible to cut the interference of our staff and other people we work with. And we are trying as much as possible to digitize the process. I think this morning, the MD mentioned that very soon is going to be 100% process online so that we cut the human interference out of this whole thing. But now the process is still the same. you have to register or at least go to the district office to let the office know that you are in need of a meter, and the process starts with a registration. And then later on, an inspection of your premises to make sure that the kind of meter that you're requesting is the one that you actually would need. And then you make a payment. And this payment is online. It is cashless. You do not have to give physical cash to anyone. And that's what we've been trying to sound into people for as long as possible. When you make the payment and receive the alert, as soon as the meter is ready to be installed, the number that you gave during the registration would be contacted and the contractor will come to your premises to install the meter. For the past few months now, I've been testing to see if this process is actually working, because I do get a lot of calls from people who have requested meters for several months now. I haven't received them. I tell them to go back to the office and then rejuvenate the process. And they come back thanking me, thinking that I had made maybe I had helped them through the process, but actually I haven't. And so it seems that our meter situation is going to get better, and very soon people will not have a reason to pay exorbitant amounts to people who do not work with us or claim to be working with us, but in actual fact are dealing with ECG in very bad faith. And so we hope that people can take the right steps, pay online, do not rely on anyone saying, give me cash for me to process and bring you a meter in whatever days. Now the meters are available and we should be able to meet our end of the deal.
Okay, we'll talk a bit more about how you're eliminating the third party. Just stay on with us. Let's bring in the others on with us. Michael Eduma-Tanyantichi is the General Secretary of the Public Utility Workers Union. Michael, these are workers within the utility space. The belief is that they're contributing to the downfall of a state agency, which many of us have always prayed for, that it should be fully functional. What's your take on, first of all, the details that we're unraveling in this latest expose?
Well, let me first state that for us as a national union, we do not support any kind of such activities by individuals within or outside the company who are doing anything that is working against the progress of ECG as an entity. So for those who are involved, who have been captured in the documentary or by any other evidence, we condemn such acts without any reservation. But our view is that ECG is such a big company, and when we are dealing with a human entity with over 6,000 personnel, it's always important that we do not generalize such problems and make it appear as if every ECG worker or staff is working against the progress of the company.
You're defending, I'm sorry, but you're defending the interest of your workers now, isn't it?
No, I'm not defending. I'm stating a certain position that we should not generalize such issues. Those who are found culpable in these measures, we should always deal with them according to due process. But I'm only raising concern that we do not make this general application as if every staff in ECG is involved in such nefarious activities. That is the only point I want to state. But as the MD indicated earlier, a lot had already begun to streamline these issues. And we as a union had thrown our support firmly behind this intervention, because we see that this is something that is going to bring progress and transformation in the company. And everybody who has interest in the progress of the company and the state at large should support such activities and make sure that we cut out or eliminate to the barest minimum all these kind of nefarious acts that work against not only the company, but the country as a whole. So we are very optimistic that these measures that have already commenced will go a long way to help streamline and eradicate this kind of problem.
Okay, but that has to start with, some punitive measures. What's your expectation in terms of the kind of administrative measures that ought to take place, ought to be exacted on these individuals that at least we're seeing in this video? We need to point out that clearly faces were showing in the video that we've seen, and also there are names to the individuals that we've seen in the videos. What's your expectation, and do you believe or suspect that possibly there might be more people within the system who are engaged in this activity?
Even without making reference to the documentary per se, I can say without any fear of contradiction that individuals who are found to have engaged in more practices or misconduct within the company are always dealt with. We as a national union always insist that when people are found to have misconducted themselves, they should be taken through the due process, where various committees of inquiry or disciplinary actions are set up with representatives of the union. And many times when the cases are established, there are a number of staff that have been dismissed. And so we are sure that those who have been identified in this documentary, the same process, the due process as outlined in the collective agreement will be followed. They will be given the natural due hearing and then the requisite representation, and then the right sanctions will be applied accordingly. Because we do not believe that people should work in an organization where you are paid from and the same company you expect to get your daily bread and even wish that your salaries or conditions of service are made better. You go behind and do things that are undermining the progress of the company. Within such a bad nuts, we should not be encouraged within the body space or the body politics of the company.
Mike, stay on with us. Leila is still on. Leila, are you overwhelmed by, the modus of these individuals, the approach they take in swindling the unsuspecting public? You go there, they effectively tell you that the system isn't working. That's the impression they create.
I'd say the first time I heard about how they go about the business overwhelmed me. But since I've been here and heard it a number of times, this expose, unfortunately, did not shock me so much. I'm only happy that we have names, we have faces to deal with, and it's in the public glare that good journalism is being done and the right thing should occur on the part of ECG to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore. Just like my colleague said, it's something that we've always been dealing with in-house. And whenever we have reported issues with names and locations to follow up with, the disciplinary process has taken place and some people have even lost their jobs. I think a few weeks ago, it came out in the public domain that some people had been fired. There are people who are currently on indictment. There are people who are facing the disciplinary committee. So it's not as if ECG isn't doing anything about these allegations because it's affecting our business. And if you allow such people to continue to operate within ECG, it means everyone else is working for them to benefit, which is not the reason why we were set up. We weren't set up for a few people to benefit. We were set up to ensure that electricity is supplied to the Ghanaian in a very reliable and affordable manner. And some of these things affect the cost of the electricity in the long run. And so if the public and media can help us in any way identify these people who are doing these things to affect the business of ECG and consequently the pockets of Ghanaians, why would we not take any action against that? And so I think the best thing that we can also do is also to let the media know when we take such actions, put it before the public that these people should not be dealt with anymore under the name of ECG. I think management will come out with something very soon.
Leila, let's deal with the point that there might be more individuals in the system working with ECG at the moment. They said that they've not been discovered.
Of course. Wouldn't we be a little bit juvenile to think that these people who were caught on camera are the only people? They are just the unfortunate ones who have been caught on camera. But if your journalists had more time, more resources to travel through, I'm sure there would have been more people caught on the bad side of the law. And so we're just encouraging more people to come together with the media. ECG, we have reporting lines on the ECG Power app as well. It gives you the avenue to report. And we've also gone a step further now to ask you to verify stuff. Now, that's one of the important things that I think has come up in this. You see security men posing as ECG staff, ready to render services that they have absolutely no business rendering to customers. How does he account to the customer if something goes wrong? If he is able to get you a meter that is faulty and it ends up burning your house, how do you go about reporting this? And what happens is that the people come back to ECG to complain and allege that we have caused the issues to happen within their systems of our network. So
Leila, we've lost Leila there. We'll definitely get back to Leila. Adam Yakubu is also with us from the IES. And Adam, you've been monitoring, the details ever since the story broke. First off, from the position of the IES, how do we move forward in terms of finding solution, loss reduction, and also checking the system and getting rid of any staff of ECG possibly that might be abetting crime, corruption, as we're seeing it on the scale?
Let me first of all say good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners, and commend Joy News and the team that undertook this expose. It is commendable that such bold initiatives have been taken, because if you look at any time the conversation about ECG's losses come up, every now and then we get customers complain dealing with unscrupulous people who tend to procure meters. Even in some instances, they tamper with meters that consumers use so that you do not pay the appropriate bills. And so I think that this is commendable. And so the ECG should make sure that whatever authority the person holds within the ECG is exposed. Because remember, these individuals are just mere officers. They have some higher authority with which they work with to get the approvals to be able to even get you these meters. And so it would also be juvenile. I was thinking Leila would call for a full-scale investigation as to where the expose has stopped. It shouldn't just end with these young officers. There are higher officers who are helping them to do this. Because when they pick these monies from you, they will have to pay their way through to be able to get you the approvals and all that. And so it will not be okay with us or to me to think that it will just end with these officers. There is a bigger cabal to this issue than we are looking at it. And I would expect that management of ECG would go beyond what Joy News has done.
Is it the case that you've always had this suspicion from the position of the IES? You've always had this suspicion.
Clearly, if you could remember, the other time I was with on your platform with the ECG managing director, he did indicate that the ECG is even understaffed to be able to police their own meters. And so sometimes these are some of the issues they face. And so to have this coming up, it clearly tells you that the suspicion has been confirmed. And we have instances where customers tell us that they've gone to the ECG over 5 months to procure meters. They don't get it. Instances where people have faulty meters, they call and they don't come around and all that. And so this expose puts us in a better position to solve this problem, if not for once and for all, but at least to make progress as we try to close the losses gap ECG continues to face. Because when you look at the data that the Energy Commission recently released, much has been done on the part of transmission losses. The chunk of it goes into the distribution where ECG plays a significant role. And so I would think that this is the right time for us to crack the whip, and this is the right time for major shakeups to happen within the management levels of ECG so that we would get these unscrupulous individuals.
I see. Very interesting point you're raising there. I agree with you on this one. Adam Yakub, who's a Research Policy and Programs Officer at IES, joining us this afternoon. Let's wrap up with you, Michael, because your union, you have your workers in hot waters now. Beyond this, Adam is saying, let's do a full-scale probe. From the position of Pool, will you add your voice to that call that let's expand this to the managerial level, wherever we need to go? Do we need a full-scale probe into this matter as we wrap up?
Well, I think we will have no reservation about such an action. But we believe that the most important thing is not just the issue about the investigation, but how to solve the system challenges that enable individuals to take advantage of such issues. And that is where the actions which already have been commenced or the interventions the managing director had talked about is of paramount significance. Because if you are able to reduce the level of human interaction and allow the systems to roll in a manner which individual influences are limited, then we are making significant progress. So the use of the ECG app, even right now, to initiate some of this process is a very big step. And again, once the availability of meters become more paramount and there are no shortages, then people who are capitalizing on the fact of the shortage and then creating these dubious acts will virtually found their activities becoming not very progressive. So we will not have any reservation if every effort is made to make sure that the improvement that have been initiated is sustained, and then the processes are properly defined to ensure that customers get the good service for which they are required, and people are not frustrated by individuals.
I'm grateful for your time. Michael Nyantichi is the General Secretary of the Public Utilities Workers